Here it is.
Yo! In this video, we're going to talk about completing the Colosseum without the use of protection prayers. Unlike my usual content, I'll be going a little more in depth and talking about some of the unique problems this challenge presented and how we solved them. So yes, despite what our expert Rich concentrate.
This is weird. I never heard him talk before. I thought he was just a guy who played RuneScape and didn't talk.
Has to say, this challenge is possible and I'm going to explain how. I've identified 4 core elements of the Colosseum that need to be solved for a completion to be possible. We'll be discussing these in order. And yes, I've seen some of the discussion. Most people seem to be wondering how it would be possible to kill Manticores and survive Soul Heredit's spear attack. So I'll go ahead and tell you right now that we will be covering these. But believe me when I say that these 2 aspects are hardly the real problems behind this challenge. One issue in particular was much more of a puzzle to navigate, and in my opinion is the real main identity of this challenge. Let's start off with enemy stacks. We'll talk about the individual monsters in the waves and how to deal with different combinations of them.
Okay.
Let me introduce you to our cast of enemies. First up is the Serpent Shaman. First appearing on wave 1, the Serpent Shaman is relatively weak compared to later enemies. However, its smaller size and shorter attack range make it behave quite uniquely, adding an extra layer of complication.
Yeah, I own these guys.
Next up is the Javelin Colossus. This ranger appears on wave 2 and almost every wave thereafter, making it the most frequent of every enemy. The Javelin Colossus has a unique mechanic where every 5th attack, it will high throw a javelin aimed at the tile the player is on. This replaces its actual regular attack, which can work to our advantage. Thirdly, we have the Manticore. Perhaps the most iconic enemy present in the Colosseum, it is also by far the most mechanically complex. Its unique mechanics have been implemented in ways that create intricate issues for this challenge. For now, we're worried about its massive max hit of 98, coupled with the fact that it's the only enemy present in the waves that is impossible to tick eat. Last and least, the Shockwave Colossus. Despite being present much later on in the challenge, it is also the most basic. It is functionally the same as the Javelin Colossus, only without the special javelin mechanic. With introductions over, let's talk about how to beat these enemies. Without protection prayers, we can't just attack them and hope we kill them before they kill us. Flinching would have been very useful since it allows us to attack the enemy without the enemy attacking us back. However, none of the NPCs in the Colosseum will flinch, which removes a very valuable option for us. Something we can make use of is tick eating. Tick eating is the act of eating to heal up in between the enemy's damage calculation and the actual damage landing. However, we can't just bring infinite food with us. Purple sweets are stackable, but disabled within the Colosseum.
No purple sweets in the Colosseum. Is he really about to ticky every single wave? What is going on, man?
So instead of tick eating, we're going to tick heal. Every 100 ticks, our character will regenerate 1 health, giving us an infinite source of tick heals. We can strategically time our attacks on enemies so that we regenerate health exactly when we need to. The regen bracelet lets us regenerate 2 health instead of 1, making it possible to tick heal 2 NPCs at once.
Guys, poor Khazard just leveled up. What is happening, bro? I've never heard of the tick heal before. This guy figured out when his health was going to go up by 1, and if he gets hit at the same time, he doesn't die?
The only resource consumed for this strategy is time. The hit points cape has a separate regen timer that we can use to regen twice per minute instead of once, which can save time. But what about the Manticore? Tick healing the Manticore doesn't work, and believe me, I tried many different ways. The problem isn't that the Manticore does 3 separate hits on the player. It's the unique damage scripts that the Manticore uses that make it mechanically impossible to tick heal. So, we have an enemy that hits 98s, isn't flinchable, and isn't tick healable. How can we beat it? These are a modifier that cause a bee swarm to spawn. While these are very annoying to deal with, we can still use them to our advantage. You see, bee swarms will slowly but surely drift toward your character, and when you attack them, you're guaranteed to hit your max hit.
Oh.
When they die, they respawn 30 seconds later from their
SGS?
randomly selected spawn point. Always max hitting means that attacks that heal us like the SGS spec will heal as much as possible. Since the bees drift towards us, we can use these SGS specs while safe spotting the rest of the enemies. And since they respawn indefinitely, we can repeat this process over and over until we are full HP. And if we're full HP, we can always survive a Manticore attack, giving us a way to safely trade hits with a Manticore and not die. The Relentless modifier increases the Manticore's max hit to above 99, but the fact that its attack is split into 3 separate rolls makes it still very safe to take a hit. Relentless 2 increases its max to 107. But we can also time health regeneration to give us an extra 4 HP to increase our chances of living. The chance of dying in this scenario is only 1 in 1400. And yes, the extra HP from regeneration makes a significant difference. Relentless 3 has a roughly 1% chance to kill us, which is risky enough that the modifier should be avoided if possible. Another strategy involving bees is to make use of the Venator bow's chain effect. Bees will sometimes occupy certain tiles while trying to reach you. By attacking them on these spots, you can have the Venator bow chained to an enemy behind the pillar, letting you deal a small amount of damage to them without taking any yourself. However, bees pathing isn't exactly deterministic. While they will generally move toward you, there is still some randomness present, meaning they won't always move onto these tiles, or they will take an extremely long time to do so.
A little
This,
boomerang
coupled with
hit.
the 30-second respawn and low amount of damage dealt means that this strategy can be extremely time-consuming.
20 minutes for
In
one
case you
kill.
didn't know, the Colosseum does not pause when you log out, meaning a full run must be completed within the 6-hour session limit, meaning there is actually a time limit, so slow methods do have a very real cost other than just my own patience. It's important to be careful when attacking bees. Like I said before, the bee pathing isn't fully predictable, so whenever you attack it, there's a risk of it being in a place you didn't expect, meaning your character might drag to somewhere you don't expect. To counteract this, I had a strategy to avoid dragging onto unexpected tiles. Instead of waiting on a tile next to where we want the bee to arrive on, and then attacking it, I would instead wait one tile away and then attack it with the control key held down, and then on the next tick, click back onto the original tile. This would make me drag onto a tile that is in range of where I want the bee to be positioned, meaning if the bee pathed as expected, I would drag next to it and still do the attack. However, for the case where the bee didn't path as expected, I would still drag to that same tile that I already know is safe, rather than a potentially dangerous tile. Each of our strategies to hit the enemies involve a lot of time in between them. This makes Thralls and Vengeance incredibly helpful, since we'll be venged for every attack, and each attack will result in multiple Thrall hits. The upgraded Death Charge spell is also very useful. Since we're constantly killing bees, Death Charge will greatly increase how much spec energy we have available. The Lightbearer Ring is also very useful for the same reason. Time is a scarce resource in this
venging
challenge,
every
and
hit.
these things save a huge amount of it. Okay, back to the main enemies. So we know how to handle each enemy individually. We also know how to handle multiple different enemies when they can all be tick regened, but what about some of the other combinations that include the Manticore? In this setup, we have a Manticore in the back and a Ranger in the front. Since we can only tick regen the Ranger, we can't get hit by both of these NPCs at the same time. But by doing specific movement, we can make it so that only the back NPC has line of sight to the player, and then go back behind the safe spot before the front NPC can gain line of sight. With this alone, we can deal some damage to the Manticore by using Vengeance twice. However, we can take advantage of the Manticore's long attack cooldown of 10 ticks, and leave the safe spot again with careful timing, this time being able to attack the Manticore whilst doing so. In the process, the Ranger attacks us, but we time the entire sequence so that we tick regen it. Well, what if we swap the order? A Manticore in the front and a Ranger in the back. We can apply the same strategy of only letting the back NPC see us and rely purely on venge damage. But for important reasons I'll talk about later, you don't want to leave the Manticore as the last NPC alive. So how can we kill the Manticore first? Well, you may recall that every 5 hits the Javelin Colossus will skip its attack in favor of its Javelin mechanic. We can take attacks from the Ranger whilst chipping it down with Vengeance, whilst counting its attacks at the same time. Whenever it's time for its Javelin special, we can go to the other side and directly attack the Manticore whilst the Ranger skips its attack on us. Let's rapid fire some more of the main stack solves. 3 enemies in a straight line with the Manticore at the back. Step from this tile to this tile to prevent the front 2 enemies from having line of sight for a tick. Slowly kill the Manticore by avenging twice each time. For a triple stack like this, the front NPC will immediately have line of sight. Go far west instead and step from here to here, preventing the middle NPC from having line of sight for a tick, and preventing the back NPC from being within its 15 tile attack range.
Vengeance.
Now let's talk about 2x2 stacks. In a 2x2 stack, the Manticore is going to be on either of the 2 sides of the stack. The side that doesn't have the Manticore on it will have 2 enemies that can be tick regened, meaning we can engage and attack either of the 2 enemies. Once we eventually kill one of them, the stack will simplify. If the Manticore is in the back, delay it by a tick by using these tiles and kill off the front NPC with vengeance. If the Manticore is in the front, then simply double regen to kill the back NPC. Relying on Venge only is quite slow, and we are on a time limit. Because of this, it's worth understanding how a stack will look after you kill an NPC. The NPC
You will eventually kill it using this method.
you kill first determines what the stack is going to look like next, which determines whether or not you have to rely on slow methods like Venge bombing. To understand this, it's good to be familiar with how NPC turns are prioritized. Take this stack for example. If we kill this NPC, these 2 NPCs both want to occupy the tiles that it was standing on. But they can't both occupy these tiles, so how is it determined who will move first and take the spot? Well, each NPC has its own turns to do things like move, and the turn order is determined by their index, which we can see with the NPC ID plugin. The lower index NPC will have its turn first. NPCs will also die and despawn during their turn, which effectively means that the NPC with the lowest index that's higher than the dying NPC will be the one to move on to its spot first. Lastly, we'll discuss 2x2 stacks that contain 2 Manticores. I promise this is the last stack we'll talk about.
You guys following along?
2 Manticores on the same side is no problem since they'll stagger themselves to be 5 ticks apart. However, if there's 1 on each side, then we're in trouble. We can't attack or even rely on Venge bombing on either side of the stack since we'll get hit by a combination of a Manticore and another NPC at the same time, which is something we can't do without having a high chance of dying. This is where we have to use our last option, and kill an entire NPC using Venator bow bounces. This is very slow, but it works. The Venator bow has a relatively short attack range. With Myopia 1 we can still use it effectively, but with Myopia 2 we lose a lot of potential bounces because we can only hit the bees on much more specific tiles, making the process even slower. Myopia 3 basically removes our ability to Venator bounce on bees at all, and for this reason it should be avoided as much as possible.
You can't take Myopia 3.
Deal with monsters that spawn at the start of the wave. But what about the reinforcements? This is our next element to solve, and it won't take as long to get through. After around 40 seconds, a wave of reinforcements will be spawned. When at the northwest pillar, they will spawn north, with 3 different possible spawn tiles. On waves 1, 2, and 3, only a Jaguar Warrior will spawn. On 7, 8, and 9, only a Minotaur will spawn. These are simple to deal with, as they'll automatically safe spawn. On the rest of the waves, a Serpent Shaman is also spawned alongside the melee. The 2 reinforcements can't spawn on the same tiles, meaning there are 6 different permutations to deal with. Half of the time the Serpent Shaman will automatically be stuck behind the melee reinforcement, causing it to be safe spotted. From here, we can ensure that we're in the best position possible to take on the Shaman in a 1v1, before we kill the melee and unsafe spot the Shaman. We SGS spec to heal up to full on bees, cast Vengeance, and we can also use the Venator bow to deal damage to the Shaman whilst it's safe spotted.
Oh, nice, that's a good idea.
The Venator bow also hits a bee will cause the Thrall to attack the Shaman, and it also means the melee will take less damage. This helps us get the Shaman to even lower health before the melee dies. Once the melee dies, we're locked into a 1v1, but because of our preparation, this is usually a cakewalk.
Full health?
But what about the other half of the permutations? If nothing is done, the Major will stay in front until it has line of sight to the player, locking us into an unprepared 1v1. For reasons I'll explain later, we'll have low HP in this context, so having to engage in a 1v1 with the Shaman here is really not ideal. So I developed a strategy to get the Shaman stuck behind the melee more often. With strategic positioning, we can have the enemy safe spotted behind the pillar to make a wall that prevents the melee reinforcement from getting stuck on the east side. This setup will cause the melee and the Major to line up horizontally. Once the Shaman gains line of sight to the player, we step out of line of sight for one single tick. This will cause the Shaman to drag 1 tile southwest, whilst the melee is still vertically stuck on the NPC east of the pillar. We then step back into line of sight to prevent the Shaman from dragging any closer to us, causing the melee NPC to slide over it and eventually completely around it, taking the front position.
Whoa, the slider. That's kind of pog right there.
From here we move back out of line of sight, causing the Shaman to be safe spotted. The earlier waves don't have as many enemies, meaning we can't build as good of a wall. We use an adjusted method to try safe spot what we can. However, there's still a chance you get a bad NPC stack east and a bad reinforcement permutation. In this case, we're forced into an unprepared 1v1. Our best solution here is to use Gethic's Rest to take E until the shaman dies. We bring in 2 Gethic's Rest mostly because of this situation. In the later waves, the melee NPC is a Minotaur, which has the ability to heal nearby NPCs once they're below a certain HP. This means that if we fail to get the shaman stuck behind the Minotaur, then we're most likely dead, as we'd have to kill an entire Minotaur first, whilst tanking the shaman the entire time. However, since these waves always have 4 larger NPCs, it is always possible to perform the lure as long as we don't mess up.
Oof.
Okay, time to address the big one. Everything I've talked about so far assumes we're at the northwest pillar, with every NPC safe spotted to the east of us. But how did we get them there? This was the problem that I alluded to in the intro, and it proved to be the most difficult, both in theory and execution. The obvious answer here? Get lucky. It's possible to do all 11 waves in a row and get lucky enough to always have the NPCs spawn in ways that get stuck behind the pillar. But how realistic is this strategy? Trying to come up with an estimate, it very quickly becomes clear that the probability of this is somewhere in the 1 in thousands. Not viable at all. My eventual solution for this problem, increase the chance of success to be closer to a 1 in 3 once making it past wave 6. This still felt RNG heavy, but doable. So how do we go from 1 in thousands to 1 in 3? Unlike the Inferno, we can't relog to scout our wave and then come up with an extremely specific solution for that specific wave. But what if there existed a specific sequence of actions we could perform every single time that solved most of the possible wave combinations? It turns out going back and forth between pillars does an excellent job of luring NPCs. So very simply, the idea is to run from here to here and then back again. But with basically no defense or prayers, surviving so many hits from multiple enemies is impossible, right? 5 years ago, I made a method to walk past the Sardaco maze without dying. How? Interact with something on the other side, wait a tick, then use a stall to delay the damage that was queued. Once across, the delay ends and all the queued damage processes. Normally, this would kill us, but by having a Phoenix necklace on, we take the first instance of damage, which causes the necklace to immediately activate, running a procedure called Combat Clear Queue, which clears all damage currently queued to the player, aka all the remaining damage that would have caused us to die. So what if we adapted?
I mean, I knew that. But like, how did he figure that out? You know what I mean? Like, if you guys ever really thought about that, like, this guy must be a programmer or something.
This strategy for the Colosseum. I had already found a stall that delayed the player for 12 ticks, which is just long enough. We just had to try eat an uncooled rock cake, specifically without gloves equipped. The plan is to interact with something on the other side, wait a tick, and click the rock cake. Once on the other side, the Phoenix necklace procs, clearing the pending damage so that we survive. Well, let's try. Okay. That didn't work. But why? The necklace did proc from the first instance of damage, so how come we still took more damage and died? It's because of this guy. The Manticore's attack is coded very uniquely. It queues custom damage scripts to the player, which Combat Clear Queue ignores. We can't clear the damage from the Manticore, we can't tick eat it in any way, and we can't reliably survive it when it's combined with other NPCs, even at 99 HP. There are no options left to survive the damage when changing pillars. This insanely specific issue with the Manticore was the first major roadblock for this challenge. Everything before this was honestly kinda easy to solve. When I realized the Manticore's damage couldn't be cleared, my attention shifted onto other projects that frankly just weren't as interesting to me. I was still convinced this challenge was possible, I just needed to figure out the right solution. But it turns out I may have actually had the key the entire time. This eventual realization was what really kicked things into motion.
We're gonna need a montage, boys. That's the only way we can solve this.
Earlier I said we had no options to deal with the damage. That's still true. But what if that's okay? What happens if we do take all that damage and go to 0 HP? We die, right? When you reach 0 HP from Q damage, the death script is immediately queued, but you don't immediately die. The death script is specifically queued with a 1 tick delay, meaning we won't die until the next tick. Okay, so we do die when we reach 0 hit points, just a tick later. But something I haven't mentioned yet is that combat clear queue doesn't just clear damage, it can also clear the death script. New idea. Cross to the other side while delaying damage just like before, but this time intentionally let all the damage land and take me to 0 HP first to queue death. Then proc a Phoenix Necklace to clear the queue death within that 1 tick window before it occurs. But proccing a Phoenix Necklace in this context is complicated. The window is small, and you cannot proc a Phoenix Necklace on 0 HP. We need to heal to above 0 HP, then take damage to proc it. Typical healing methods are blocked on 0 HP, so we need to use alternative ways to heal. Luckily, I had previously made a similar strat to kill Zuck without attacking. I relied on recoiling the damage from Zuck's attacks, so I couldn't clear the damage itself. This damage could easily drop me down to 0 HP, so I had to take a lethal damage but also not die to it, just like our current problem. To do this, I healed up after reaching 0 HP by casting Blood Barrage. I cast it on a stack of multiple majors to reliably not splash, then took damage from the same majors to proc a Phoenix Necklace and clear the queued death. A quick note since things might look confusing.
What the hell? Okay, so on the tick that he dies, he blood barrages and P-Nex in the same tick. So he dies, but his health heals up, and then he dies again, and then the P-Nex procs, and then his health goes back up. This is insane.
Confusing. Healing up after reaching 0 HP is not enough on its own. You will die with HP remaining. It is absolutely necessary to also proc a Phoenix Necklace to run combat clear queue. We aren't healing up from 0 HP to avoid death. It's too late for that. We are healing our HP purely so that it is possible to proc a Phoenix Necklace, since they can only activate at 1 to 19 HP and not 0. Also note that the client doesn't instantly visually update whenever our HP changes values. It only does so once at the end of the tick. This is why in a clip like this, you won't actually see the HP orb show 0, even though we were at some point. Anyways, I wanted to adapt this Zuck method for the Colosseum. Melee hits are guaranteed to max on the Fremennik Archer, so SGS speccing it is a guaranteed heal on 0 HP. But there was a problem. Whilst delayed from the stall, we're unable to do most actions, including setting a target to attack. On the tick the stall ends, we take the queued damage, but we still aren't able to set a target. This is because within the tick, the stall ends before queue processing, but after input processing, which is where we try to set our target from. The actual act of attacking the target happens during interactions, after the stall ends, so it should be possible to perform an attack on this tick. We just need a way to set our target without relying on input. The idea for this was to use auto retaliate. Instead of setting our target by clicking, we could take damage during queue processing and retaliate, which sets our target. But there were still more issues. Even though my character was now trying to attack the Fremennik Ranger, it wouldn't. Why is this? Action delay is a variable on the player that compares to the global clock to determine whether or not you're eligible to attack. Since the global clock increases by 1 each tick, action delay effectively counts down by 1 each tick. When you retaliate,
He's like, listen, this is what I had to do to solve this complicated problem that no one else can do in the world but me. But first I need to explain to you the mechanic and how it works in the code so that you can understand, still not understand what I'm trying to tell you. This has happened 3 times now in this video.
your action delay is checked. If it's at a negative value, aka off cooldown, then it will set to a positive value equal to half your attack speed rounded down. This is called flinching. This positive action delay is what was preventing us from attacking. If you retaliate with a positive action delay, the value remains unaffected and we don't flinch, but since our action delay is already positive, you're still delayed from attacking. But by retaliating on a value of exactly 0 action delay, we don't flinch and are able to immediately attack without having to wait. Okay, so to attack on the tick the stall ends, we would have to retaliate whilst having an action delay of exactly 0. But it's not like we can just herb tar 2 ticks earlier to set our action delay. Like mentioned before, our inputs are blocked. For action delay to tick down to 0 by the end of the stall, we have to set our action delay to something greater than the length of the stall from before we start the stall. Portable and viable ways to set your action delay are rare, especially ones that set it to such a high value. The Dream spell sets your action delay all the way to 10. This alone isn't high enough, but eating food adds an additional 3 ticks of action delay. Araxite venom sacs behave as food in this context and are stackable. We can now preemptively set up enough action delay that by the time our stall ends, our action delay will tick down to 0, allowing us to retaliate without flinching. And it worked. We got hit to 0 HP, then healed to 18 with the SGS spec. Now we just needed to take damage to proc the Phoenix.
Oh my god, bro. This is disgusting. Guys, I thought poor Khazard, what he did before was impressive. This guy has one-upped himself again. This is crazy to me, man. He's literally running from one pillar to another, animation stalling the damage with Urban Tar and an Araxite Fang. All the damage hit at the same time on the exact tick. He's SGS specking to heal his health back from all the delayed damage hitting.
Necklace. Venom Sacs and the Locator Orb actually damage you too late. They queue damage from input, but are death queued from the previous tick. Queued scripts are processed first in, first out, meaning that when queue processing happens, the death process is first. We'd have to use something that didn't queue damage and instead just dealt it directly. The answer to this was Zamorak Brews. Click a P-neck first, then a Zamorak Brew to equip it, then proc it with self-damage before the death script runs. And success. Except after testing this multiple times, something went wrong. Normally, you retaliate to the last thing that attacked you. In a situation like this with multiple hits, the first hit causes retaliation. It should cause retaliation to the last enemy that attacked, which is always the Fremennik Ranger. So how come in this clip, I retaliate to the Manticore instead? Well, the custom damage script...
Clean Alpha, thank you for the prime. Okay, so not only does he have to run from one pillar to another, delay all the damage from hitting him until he makes it to the other pillar, SGS to heal up on the same tick, then he now has to Zami Brew and put on a P-neck to proc the P-neck, so he dies twice in the same tick, but he heals back, he overheals twice. It's like he's like ping-ponging his health.
It uses once again come with some troublesome unique behavior. They cause retaliation, but specifically toward the Manticore. Basically, if we retaliate from a source of damage other than the Manticore, we'll retaliate to the last NPC to attack, the Fremennik Ranger. But if the Manticore is the first source of damage, we'll retaliate to the Manticore, causing us to die. At this point, it was clear that the auto-retaliate method was too problematic to work. This issue would mess up this method too often for it to be worth using. But it wasn't all for nothing. Developing this method spawned new ideas for alternative methods that could potentially work. At this point in time, my focus shifted toward Deadman All-Stars. But in the back of my mind, I was still thinking about the wave lore, and I was pretty confident that one idea in particular would finally work. Eventually the time came to test this new idea. See, with the auto-retaliate strat, we healed from 0 HP by attacking, happening here during interactions. But clearly, attacking wasn't going to work out. Well, the new idea healed from here, during timers. When attacking with the Soul Reaper axe, 8 damage is taken, a soul stack is gained, and a 20 tick timer is initiated. When the timer expires, a stack is lost, and we're refunded the 8 HP. This 8 HP heal is what we're going to use. Testing it, this did work to avoid dying, but the problem was attacking 20 ticks in advance to start the timer. Setting up west wasn't viable, as we'd have to wait around whilst getting hit by multiple enemies.
What the flip, bro? He's doing an attack 20 ticks in advance, so when he runs and he lands here, the Soul Reaper axe ticks him up on the same ticks that he dies from the delayed damage that he's also setting up perfectly so that it all lands on the same tick when he changes pillars.
Instead, we'd have to start the lure method from the previous wave. Condition the last enemy to be low HP, then kill 2 bees with the Soul Reaper axe, gaining 2 stacks. Then kill off the last enemy with the axe, gaining a 3rd stack and restarting the 20 tick timer. From the exact tick we swung last, we'll heal an 8 in 20, 40, and 60 ticks respectively. Spend the first 31 ticks waiting for the wave to end, orbing to 1 and mentally deciding which modifier to pick. Exactly 32 ticks after the last swing, confirm the selection. This timing means the 8 heal from the 2nd stack will automatically ticky any enemy that spawn near us, even if there are multiple. 8 ticks are spent doing this exact movement sequence to avoid friendly hits and to properly lure spawns to ensure they get stuck behind the east pillar. We also proc a Phoenix necklace with venom sacks, clearing Q damage to survive the second volley, but also to let us eat the rock cake, which can't be eaten if there's any damage currently queued. Manticore damage can't be cleared, but Manticores have a 10-tick charge up when they first see the player, meaning only non-Manticore NPCs can attack by this point. Eating the cake on tick 49 makes the stall end on tick 60, exactly when our third 8 HP heal is due. Finally, equip a Phoenix necklace and drink a Zami brew to proc it to clear the pending death. Okay, now for crossing back west. The first problem is that after using the hot cake, it drops to the floor. We need the cake back to use it again, so we have to pick it back up, but this requires gloves to be equipped, which is annoying. It also stalls you for a few ticks, which is bad because we want flexible movement to deal with the Fremenix, and don't want to let bees catch up. The solution? Telekinetic grab.
This is insane, dude. My brain is trying to understand, bro. I'm just trying to explain to somebody how hard this is I can't even do it, bro.
Telegrab doesn't run the same script, letting us bypass both the glove requirement and the stall. It also lets us retrieve the cake from the far east, further away from the incoming bees. So dealing with the Fremenix and retrieving our rock cake looked like this.
Oh hell no, Volatile's on.
The last attack is a Soul Reaper hit, starting the 20 tick timer to heal. After telegrabbing the rock cake, wait 3 ticks, then interact with an item far west, then rock cake stall again. After reaching the west side, get healed an 8 from the soul stack, then equip a P-neck and drink a Zami brew to clear the death for a second time. Then run 2 tiles west and SGS spec the ranger for extra health, killing it out of the way for the volatility explosion. Then spellbook swap to normals and safely telegrab our rock cake ASAP. All of this leaves just a few ticks to prepare for the reinforcement lure. That's pretty much the full lure method.
Oh, that's it? That's all you gotta do? Oh. Okay, Port Khazard. All right. That's all you gotta do, boys. Switch from one pillar to another. 32 ticks in advance while rock cake stalling. SGS, auto retaliate. Make sure you hit the archer so you get the max hit. Red X, animation stall, 2 tiles, come back, telegrab your shit. After you re-click your P-neck and your Sarah Diamond Brew to heal up so that you don't die again twice. Deadass. Wave 9 complete. Bro, he's healing off the Soul Reaper axe on pole. He's using the Soul Reaper axe 32 ticks in advance to heal when the first enemy hits him. Rock cake stall. All the damage hits. SGS spec. Into the move. Red click back. Click back again. Telegrab. Reinforcements coming. Trading back to the other pillar. Rock cake stall again. SGS spec on the tick he dies. And now the reinforcements. Mage up front. He's gotta slide the Minotaur forward. And he does it. What the hell? No.
You may have noticed that
There's no way, dude. This guy's from a different planet than Earth. I swear. Port Khazard's an alien.
Start on this tile instead of the typical starting tile. This is because while developing the exact movement sequence to minimize unlurable waves, I found that the most frequent culprit were wave spawns that were lined up vertically. By standing here, we could eliminate 4 spawns that often made these bad vertical combinations. It did open up the 2 west spawns, which are vertical, but with correct pathing, the pillar itself does a good job of separating these. Special thanks to Supalooza for creating Colosseum and making improvements on request. This greatly helped simulate different spawn permutations, which aided in identifying and fixing problematic situations. I also decided to sacrifice an inventory space for a better Red X item. The lure requires an extremely zoomed out camera, and I play on a relatively small client, which made the Red X on the east side quite precise. I asked my friend Chris for ground objects with the biggest models, and the Shattered Relics cannon barrels were the best option.
What do you mean poor Khazard doesn't play on full screen like me? No wonder I'm trash at the game.
West side click was easier, but I still wanted something big, so I took 9900's suggestion of using an SGS ornament kit, which was fairly big and didn't cost an inventory space. Each wave lured uses lots of resources. I ended up deciding that it would be best to use the lure for 8 out of the 11 waves. This meant using the lure on every wave with a Manticore. We'd only not be luring the first 3 waves, which didn't seem too bad to me during planning, but this later proved to be more of a struggle than expected. For 8 wave lures, the following items are needed: a stack of venom sacks, a locator orb, a soul reaper axe, a hot rock cake, cannon barrels, air runes, 4 Zamrock brews, 2 range potions, an eldritch staff, and 24 phoenix necklaces.
Oh no.
This is too much to fit, so a looting bag is used. We can put 24 diamond necklaces in a looting bag, do the attempt on a PvP world, and destroy the bag to drop all the necklaces onto the floor. From here we can enchant them, since we already have spellbook swap and the required runes. Okay, finally done. There's more I wanted to talk about in that segment, like some of the nuances with positioning, the different variations made during development, and more information about bad spawn scenarios, but I don't want to make this video even longer. Our 4th topic is one we've already revealed, Soul Heredit. Now I'll just be honest, this was probably my least favorite part of the challenge on the theory side. Unlike the rest of what we talked about, Soul really doesn't have a lot of moving parts. Whilst there are some cool things that can be done with Soul, these have their own problems. I didn't really look into them too much because they just didn't feel necessary. I figured that most of Soul already doesn't require protection prayers. The only mechanic that does is his triple spear attack. But this damage can actually be reduced by the Staff of the Dead special attack, making it viable to just out-heal it. You still end up taking a ton of damage, but it is manageable. You also aren't always protected, but since we have bees up, we can use double death charge to recharge spec faster. Along with a surge potion, this increases the uptime of the protection effect greatly. Whilst Vengeance would be useful, we'd have to cast...
Bro just turned, he's just using the bees to his advantage. Like, it's not a harder... whatever the hell they call it. It's not a harder mechanic. It's just actually helping him out here.
Spellbook swap each time we want to cast Death Charge. This delays the player for a few ticks, which makes it difficult.
Dude, Bees is the one everyone told me not to take.
Use without error. I chose to instead take a Magic Cape, which allows us to permanently switch to the Arceus book for the Soul fight. Another way to reduce damage is to kill Soul quickly. Soul is weak to slash and extremely defensive against non-melee styles. We don't really have the space to bring in lots of melee switches, but we can bring a ton of 6 of Ralos. The special attack of the Ralos can be used repeatedly to drain Soul's defense, eventually all the way down to 0, which makes the range setup actually do a good amount of DPS. During the first 10% of Soul's HP, he won't do any special attacks, so we can use this period to repeatedly spec Soul over and over until his defense is 0. The initial Ralos specs are incredibly inaccurate, so it can actually take an extremely long time to drain him all the way to 0. Since we're on a time limit,
250? Bro just hit him with the Ralos specs for 26 minutes straight to get his range defense down.
I decided it was worth it to also bring an Elder Maul to do the first 2 to 3 specs, which speeds up the process a lot. From here it's basically a normal fight, just use staff specs as best as we can and avoid the mechanics as normal. We usually have 3 Bs up, which can be quite hard to deal with, especially with Myopia. It's also a significant DPS loss to have to kill them all, but we don't really have a choice. A very important thing I actually had no clue about initially is that if you get hit by Soul without your staff on, then your staff protection actually gets cleared. If this happens early after using your spec and you get unlucky with Soul deciding to spear a lot, this can be ridiculously punishing. Ideally, the boss should be doable with 3 brews, a restore and a range pot, and the gnome token, which gives us 10 pieces of hard food worth roughly 10 HP each. I struggle quite a bit with not making mistakes at Soul, and I also know for a fact that I'm gonna be really nervous, and Soul is not a boss that mixes well with nerves. So in the end, I decided to adjust my setup and ditch certain things like the Anguish and HP cape to fit in extra supplies, sacrificing some of the benefit for the waves for an extra 2 brews and a restore.
Okay, secret fifth topic here. Modifiers are pretty important, so probably necessary that we quickly talk about them. So, goated tier, we have
Bees.
Bees 1 and 2. These are just hard required for the strat we're using, so they are officially above everything else. Bees 3 is close because
Blasphemy
they actually
3.
kind of help. They're annoying, but you get spec back quicker and it sets up more Venator bounces with the extra spawn, so top of A tier. The whole blasphemy line is in A tier because they pretty much don't disrupt you at all. You are SGSing constantly to get your prayer back, so they don't really matter. Myopia 1, same thing, pretty much doesn't debuff you whatsoever. The only bad thing about it is that it gives you Myopia 2 and 3. Like, you're more likely to get them after you take Myopia 1. Relentless 1 is the exact same kind of deal. No real downside to it by itself, but you're more likely to get Relentless 2 and 3. Whole volatility line is an A as well. Again, pretty much don't really negatively affect you. There is an edge case where sometimes you can react to a spawn and choose not to do the lure because it's going to be lured anyways. All that does is save you some P-Nex. Doing this with volatility though is pretty scary, so I would say that's like the only real downside, but other than that, the lure takes into account all the explosions anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Myopia 2 drops down to B because you lose a lot of Venator bounce setups. I think I showed that before, but like Venator bounces, they're really not that good anyway. It's more of a thing that you want to have access to just in case you get a bad 10 or 11 wave stack. Relentless 2 puts you in chance range, very small chance of dying, but it kind of makes you play differently because you start going for the regen mid Manticore hit, so you have a higher chance of living. And that kind of loses you some time and it's pretty annoying. C tier, Reentry 1 right at the top. Kind of a weird one to put at the top, but it's actually like really not a bad pick by itself. Reentry 2 and 3 are just kind of bad, but Reentry 1 by itself, actually not a bad pick. You just need to be more vigilant about counting attacks. Myopia 3, kind of bad. You pretty much can't Venator bounce at all with it. You know, if you get that bad 10 or 11 wave setup with Manticores on both sides, you're a little bit screwed. There is a backup strat I made that I didn't really get to talk about if you do end up in this situation where you have Myopia 3 and the bad wave setup, but basically there's other downsides to doing that backup strat, so it's down here in C. Frailty's a weird one. Being 90 HP sounds awful to me. I never took this, but being 90 HP sounds pretty bad. Your cumulative chance of death is just gonna go crazy high. Maybe though if you take it on like the last wave, that's okay. Reentry 2, it's bad, but it's actually not that bad if you take it only on the last wave, right? Because the permanent stand isn't going to matter if it's on the last wave. Relentless 3, chance of death goes up a bit. You're more likely to take it like toward the end of the run though, so it's not that bad. It does increase Soul's damage output actually quite a bit too, so that's another downside. Down to D tier, you want to avoid these as much as possible and only really take them if you have no other choice, just to hope that maybe you can clutch out and finish the run. Totemic at the top, weird one to put here.
Got a Gothic
I
face,
think
guys.
doing the waves with Totemic is probably impossible, but it's actually really good, in quotes, good for the final boss. Like, it's a pick that doesn't really matter much. All you have to do is kill the thing one time at the final boss, and that's pretty chill. Reentry 3 is down here because it implies that you took Reentry 2 and had to use it on a previous wave. Dynamic Duo is a really weird one. The lore is basically made
So
around
Relentless
the base
is probably
spawn points, and Dynamic Duo makes it so that
the worst
there's a
one?
bunch more spawn points. I'm
'Cause his
pretty
health
sure
gets
it
lowered.
makes a chance of the wave being unlurable really high, but not impossible. I did have to take this one time. I was forced into taking it one time, and it did immediately kill me by giving me an unlurable wave. Frailty 2 and 3, probably completely terrible, but maybe not impossible. You know, the 80 HP one, maybe you can get lucky one wave and survive. And the 60 HP one, maybe if
Frailty,
you take
I mean.
it just on soul, maybe that's like manageable. Probably impossible. I say probably because I'm only really thinking about the strats that I developed for this, but maybe with a totally different approach, you know, who knows. Red flag at the top, probably the most potential to be possible. The whole Doom line I put in here, now that I think of it, this one might be possible if you only take it on soul. I'm just gonna leave it down here though. You know, you're always constantly taking hits off prey that are unavoidable. Manti Mayhem, sure, technically possible if you get rolled a 1 every time, but like, let's be real, that's never happening. The max hit just becomes way too high for the Manticore to realistically survive whatsoever. This is Quartet. I didn't think about Quartet like at all. I just kind of didn't want to think about it. Maybe this is like doable if you work it into the strat a bit. Solar Flare is one I'm really not sure about. It could be totally chill and totally fine to use, but I figured, you know,
imagine trying to go tick perfect pillar to pillar and you just get hit by a solar flare. That seems like it would be bad.
Deal with. I just don't want to think about it, so I put it over here in the question mark. And yeah, there's probably a better way to communicate all of this, but I figured this is probably a pretty quick and easy way to just chug through all of them. With the way the lore works, you only have a limited amount of time to actually think and decide what invocation, or sorry, modifier you're going to take, so it's pretty important actually to have a good idea of what it is that you want to pick right away.
I like it. I like the plan.
Realistically, everything I can cover, this is what the setup ends up looking like when put all together. Don't think I talked about the Trident. The Trident, it just holds runes. When you uncharge it, you know, it spits out a bunch of runes. It just gives you more than you would have otherwise been able to fit. So that helps us save some space. Locator Orb is to get to 1 HP so that the first volley of attacks during the wave lore calculate when you're 1 HP and you can actually tick eat them with your Soul Reaper. We do also have Araxite Venom Sacs in the bag which lower your HP, but the reason I like the orb is that it gets you to 1 really fast and you only have so much time during the wave lore. You know, you have to get everything done in a timely manner. The rest of the looting bag, we have our South of Dead, which is for the boss, Aldermaw for the boss, Soul Reaper for the lure, Dust Runes down here, 23 diamond necklaces, and then, you know, combined with the one on our neck, that's 24. Another thing worth mentioning is that, you know, every time you die, you have to go get another cake back, have to get another reward token back. You don't have to redo the orders. You just need to get the item back because it's lost on death. The SGS kit, if it's on the floor, obviously you will lose it. That costs a bit of money. Same thing with the cannon barrels. If you die, you lose it. I have like 100 of the kits in my bank because of this. And yeah, with everything covered, the next step from here is to actually do the process of resetting wave 1 to 3 over and over until we get Bs 1 and 2.
You should set up a GoFundMe for these challenges. No bees reset. If every mob hits a 0, you can do it without any of this. You might be onto something.
It genuinely would sometimes take hours of resetting just to get to wave 4 once, which is kind of where the run really starts, and once making it to wave 4, I'd pretty frequently just die afterwards, since 4, 5, and 6 actually have a bit more RNG involved with the Serpent Shaman spawn. Attempts that made it far would take so long that it was hard to find a window of time where I could actually complete a full run. The Soul Reaper lore means that you can't AFK in between waves, and during the waves the bees are constantly chasing you down. Obviously you can't log out mid-attempt, so this means I'd need at least 6 uninterrupted hours to do an attempt. And then, you know, it'd often take a lot of time resetting wave 1 just to get that attempt going.
Jesus.
Losing runs to unlurable wave spawns and even bad modifiers felt more common than I would have liked. And even worse than that, I made a lot of mistakes. Something about dying to my own mistakes felt extra painful, like I was being given the required RNG but throwing it away.
Like using the Soul Reaper on tick 33 instead of tick 32. I bet that's pretty painful.
Ideally, I shouldn't be losing runs to things that are in my control. And as much as I tried to identify and prepare for what mistakes could happen before I started doing attempts, naturally
We've all been
I was
there,
gonna
right?
miss some. Sometimes
We've all
you just
been
have
there.
to get punished and learn the hard way.
Okay, I'm dead. Yeah. Did it regen?
No.
Yeah, I hit a 28 on 29 HP, then hit a 0, and then the ranger with 1 HP regenerated health on the exact perfect tick to survive my venge. Normal player damage can't be tick healed by NPCs. This was pretty unique to venge damage. Despite already knowing this, I forgot to take it into account and paid the price for it. Ironically, the tick healer became the tick healed. In hindsight, this
Damn.
step wasn't that unlucky.
He
The
got a
ranger
taste
regens
of
every
his own medicine right there. The NPC tick healed his venge. The tick heal is something I just discovered today from poor Khazard talking about it.
ticks, so there should be about a 1% chance this happens, which sounds low, but with how many NPCs I was killing this way, it isn't surprising that it eventually happened. But it was deaths like this that kind of shook my confidence. I was hesitant to do attempts because it felt like something I hadn't yet considered was going to go wrong. I was always worried that my planning wasn't thorough enough and that my completion chance in reality was actually way lower than my initial estimations, since there were unknown factors that I wasn't taking into account. I was also really anxious about Soul. I dreaded finally getting the run and making it to Soul only to die, as I know this boss isn't in my strong suit. I did send a bunch of practice kills on my main, but practice can only prepare you so much for the real thing. Scariest of all though were the disconnections. Jagex servers started being attacked around this time, and then my own internet issues started up again. There was a period of time where I was legitimately having doubts that I would actually ever get this done. But
This is really good storytelling, guys. When you tell a story right around this point where you've explained everything, you've got 2 montage where you're powering up, you still want to make people think that it just wasn't going to happen. This is perfect storytelling arc. So right here should be the point, almost to the end. Then you have the climax and resolution at the end where he just blasts through it.
I knew that the best I could do was to keep learning from errors.
This is why he grayed out the screen.
Being disciplined with sending attempts would give me more chances and fixing.
See, he even grayed out the screen to make it seem more grim, like he's not going to be able to do it.
Mistakes would make those chances better. As for disconnections, all I could do was hope.
Yeah, we're gonna see the climax at the end. Don't worry. No, he's so zoomed out. This is crazy, man. Venator bow ricochet there, nice. Solar Reaper axe, vengeance kill. He's gonna tick heal for 8 right here. Boom. He's got the Manticore though. What does he do right here? Okay, change pillars. Rock cake animation stall, all the damage. P-neck swap. Telegrab. Rock cake animation stall the damage again. SGS. P-neck swap. Oh, he doesn't have to do it on the way back. He just telegrabs here. And now he's got a 1v1 with the mage. 1v1. Gothic's rest, tick eating. Please die. Nice. All his Gothic rests were gone right there. He was talking about that earlier in the video where he gets these 1v1s with the mages sometimes when there's no minotaurs and he has to just 1v1 them and win and he has to tick eat them. So he just used all of them in that one. This is really unreal, man. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. The slider? Got it. Nice. Nice. Venator bow kills the mage first there. This is so crazy to watch him do this, man. Like, it's the rock. I didn't even know the rock cake thing. The rock cake tech is crazy. SGS. Nice. Got the kill with the Thrall. Got the Vengeance kill and the Soul Reaper proc. Okay, so he heals for 8. Move to the back. P-neck Araxite into the Rock Cake stall. Into the P-neck Zammy. And then he's going to pick up the Rock Cake and Rock Cake stall again on the way back. Big heal with the God Sword there. Man. Okay, and then he got good RNG on the Minotaur first. There it is. He's got this, man. He's got this in the bag. This is crazy, dude. Do you guys think this is going to go down as the hardest thing anyone's ever done in RuneScape? I'm getting that vibe right now. I'm getting the vibe like we're watching greatness. For the very first time, like, you know, everyone first was talking about the 54 awakened Leviathans. I feel like this is the new awakened Leviathans. This is crazy cool. DYL Do, thank you very much for the 3 months. All right, final wave, boys. It gets back to 60 HP every time with that spec. The 1v1 clean. Vengeance the Mantia. He's got a triple stack here. So he Vengeance the one in the back row first. Now he's gonna Vengeance the one that's in the back, the Ranger. He's gonna Vengeance the Ranger down. Spec the bees right there. Ooh, the Venator bow hit on the Manta. Nice. And now we're on Soul. Holy brother. Bro, if I would have watched this my first few months playing the game, I would have no idea what's going on. I'm so glad I can appreciate this a little bit more now. Before when I watched poor Khazard's first videos, I couldn't really appreciate what's actually happening. It's different. Why have to run it back, JPC? The gnome reward token thing is like something I had no idea about. Send it without the gnome food. What? All right, he's got totemic. You can take that one out right away. Okay, he kills the bees first. When does he start Rallo specking? Okay, double Elder Maul. Okay, that's the fourth Elder Maul. Fifth? Okay, there's a Rallo spec. Oh my god. There we go, there's a lander. Toxic Staff on for the damage. That Toxic Staff attack is crazy. Oh! No! Don't choke! He got hit by 2 shield slams. Okay, that's the unavoidable damage. All right, we're good. A good recovery. There's a totem. Big damage. Toxic staff on. Big tank. Big tank. Nice. Oh. Big tank, big tank, big tank. 45er. He's got no more food left. We got to clutch up. Nice move there. Big damage here. Come on. Toxic staff on. Okay. All right. Oh my God, dude. Come on, Tebow. Don't let us down. 26. Dead. Live. Nice. There's no way. He got hit 3 times, but it didn't matter. He had just enough Cerebrew for it. 12 minutes. That's a 6-hour Soul Heredit kill. Unbelievable. Yeah, he must have been freaking out right there. What a video, man. Unbelievable. Wow, guys. That was something truly incredible. I think that's going to go down as one of the hardest things ever done in RuneScape. 40th Colosseum with no protection prayers. Not 1 point. Not a single protection prayer used. As pretty freaking incredible, guys. He even told us the strategy he was going to use and how he was doing it. And I'm like, dude, how are you going to do that? You know, it's just unbelievable when you're watching it, man. It looks, when it's happening, it's still hard to believe right in front of you. 18K subs on Poor Khazard's channel, guys. Can we all please just click on Poor Khazard's YouTube and just throw him a sub? Can we all just subscribe to Poor Khazard, the GOAT, the greatest person to ever play RuneScape? Right there, undisputed champion of RuneScape, Mr. Poor Khazard. That is insane.